All right, welcome back to Another Dimension. I'm Quinn.
I'm Trask.
I'm Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
Hey,
What's
Taylor.
up, guys?
Not much. How are you?
Life is good.
Good.
Awesome. So this week we're gonna try something a little bit different. We have talked about a lot of trucking related stuff. Some stuff's worthwhile. Some, if we're being honest, it's not. But thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
But today we're going to tackle a topic that probably affects most Americans, and that's
Most humans.
mental wellness and mental health. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We're going to preface this by saying we are not experts. We may say something that we don't mean, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll get into all that, but
Ideally, we know it's a real thing, and
It's
we
a
know
real
it's a
thing.
concern, and we're just trying to bring, I guess,
awareness to it.
awareness.
Everything we say comes from a good
Everything
place.
we
Good
say.
intentions.
Everything we says here, good. Wow, that was amazing.
So before we hop into the topic, let's cover news for the week. Congress is slotting a bill to be proposed on upping the general liability requirements for a trucking company. They were set in 1980, originally at $750,000. That is a minimum requirement. We know things have gone through the roof. Liability, you're more of an expert on that, but that covers, hey, what are we liable for? Like if we're in an accident, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Property damage,
right.
Yep. Injuries.
They're proposing to up it to $5 million as a minimum, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, that means rates are going to go up, but it also, if you look at it on the other things, like now lawyers know that there's more money there to sue.
Well, they think there's money there already.
Right.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Right. So I don't know where it's at. I saw it stumble across yesterday. I think I wrote it down. The other thing that's in the news this week that I found interesting is they are also proposing a predatory towing bill ban.
Good.
I agree.
What does that mean?
So companies are just towing companies, not all, but some are just charging whatever they can because they're the only ones that can do it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Want versus need.
Yep.
Or
Right.
want, supply demand. Hey, you have to have this done right now.
Yep.
I will say this. We were in a predicament. Maggio.
Yeah.
Maggio towing out of down by Rockford.
Crushed it.
Phenomenal job.
Thank you.
We had, I don't know, we were grossing like 150, 160,000.
Right.
Had a driveline issue, and they came out and helped us.
Towed us, fixed us.
On the spot. Yeah, they were fantastic. Maggio towing, use them.
Yeah, 100% out of Rockford. To go back to the predatory towing, one company. Now I don't know what it was, but the headline stated that one instance a guy got charged $77,000 for a tow bill. Now that could have been a huge, ridiculous low something, or hazmat or whatever that may have been. But can you imagine getting a $77,000 tow bill?
That's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah, right. So you want to get into it?
So it's taking advantage. Just back to that. It's
Right.
taking advantage of the situation.
Right.
And if we break down on the road, we are at the mercy of somebody.
Right.
Right. And there's been some times where we've felt a little
Pressure.
taken advantage of.
Right.
But as a whole, there's a lot of great shops out there.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for treating people with dignity, I guess.
Right.
And
So the way it
respecting
works is what you're referring to is they tow you, and then they just charge you whatever.
Well,
It depends.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
or
curious.
like, hey, I don't even know what a tow is around here. $300-400, $600. I don't know that number.
I can't remember.
Fortunately, I haven't had one in a long time. But there could be some companies where, and maybe this is right. Let's say it's snowing, and the phone's ringing off the hook. Why would I tow you for $300 when I can tow him for $600? I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go into like regulation, but I think it's going to set limits, which I don't know if I agree with. Like profit
It's
isn't
free
a dirty
enterprise.
Profit
Yeah.
isn't a dirty word, right? But at some point, did that trucking company have a choice? I'm sure he could have called someone else maybe there wasn't anyone else, but someone from a different state probably would have came and done it for cheaper than that.
Yeah, and we've done that in the past. If we had a truck broke down out of or a long ways from here, we'd send somebody from here to pick them up. But
yeah,
because then you know what, we have that relationship, right? You know what you're getting. But
or got to tow something to somewhere.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
government sticking their nose in everything.
Everything, Doge.
That won't ever change.
But deregulate.
Yeah.
Last week's trivia. Should we knock all that stuff out?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. Last week's trivia question was how much fuel. Go ahead, Taylor.
How many gallons of diesel fuel are used in the United States to move all freight over the course of a year? And in a 2019 study, I'm sure this has gone up, but in 2019, there was 50 billion gallons used
50 billion with a B.
of diesel.
Who won?
The winner was Linda Haynes.
Linda Haynes.
So get us your information, Linda.
Yeah, reach out.
And we'll get you
prize in the mail.
Yeah.
It's an epic prize. You're going to want it, right? Calendars probably still.
Who wouldn't?
Right.
Thank you for everyone who guessed. Most of you were nowhere near what the actual answer was, but that's a lot of fuel. 50 billion.
I don't know. I thought honestly, I thought it'd be higher.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. That doesn't seem that outrageous. Don't we, like, consume like 44 million gallons of fuel every day for our cars?
Yeah.
I suppose that still is a lot. But
50 billion gallons.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. You want to do the word of the day or you want to get into the topic?
We could do the word of the day. Let's get into the topic. I'm in the mood to change some opinions on things. So
Beautiful.
I'm excited to get into that. But word of the day, skyhook. Taylor, you gotta get one right.
He got one right. He's not going to get this one right.
Is that a first thing that comes to mind is like the pole that you check heights with?
Height pole?
A height pole?
I never thought of that.
That's not a bad guess.
Sky
Not a bad
and like
guess.
hook something.
It's not a bad guess.
Well,
Taylor.
I'm
Although
sticking with that
is,
guess.
The hope is you don't want to hook anything with one of those, but
Right.
yeah, it's an antenna.
Oh. That was cool.
Yes.
CB antenna. So
All right, mental health. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. What is it? Give us a brief overview.
What is mental health?
Yeah, what are we going to be covering today?
So we're going to be talking about mental health struggles
Not
as
just in
tied
trucking.
to trucking, but as a whole. Like, there's some of us that don't understand everything, what people go through. And it's a real thing. It's depression, anxiety,
PTSD,
loneliness, PTSD,
isolation.
all those things that if you don't do something about it are hugely detrimental to your health and your life at times.
and others.
Yeah. So we're going to, talk about some of the things that truck drivers struggle with and then kind of wrap it up with some ways to cope and deal with
Right.
with those issues.
Right.
And I think I would start by saying, I think everyone struggles with sadness or depression or whatever you call, the symptoms at some point in their life, right?
Right.
When I was a kid growing up, at least I wasn't aware of it. Like, it wasn't really a thing. I think social media and awareness has helped with that.
Right. It's probably also hurt it.
100%.
I think social media like kills your morale
Right.
and your view on certain things. But that's
To hit on that too, I'm not saying everyone was like this. You and I had a conversation on this. Most people back in the day were just told to suck it up, or you're being weird, get your stuff together, whatever.
Right.
And the problem with it is I do agree. I think a lot of people deal with symptoms of all of these things on maybe a daily basis, maybe a yearly basis, maybe a monthly basis, whatever
Seasonal.
that may be. Yep, seasonal. I don't know the percentages, but a healthy brain is able to allow you to get out of those mindsets. maybe
with help,
Yes.
with mechanisms or help to do
correct.
that. Yep.
Allow you to cope with them.
Yeah, and it could be a traumatic event. It
Right.
could be, the death of a family member, a friend, or
Yep.
loss of a job.
Right.
There's all these different factors that go into it that affect us all differently.
Right. And in a normal world, a normal person, speaking as someone without
Are
depression.
you saying you're normal?
No.
Okay.
Speaking
I was
as
gonna-
someone
I was gonna chime
that
in
has
there.
not struggled with depression, thankfully. Not to the extremes that others have had. I'm able to, am I in a funk sometimes? Absolutely. You said last week, hey, you just seem like you're bogged down and tired, that happens. But can you imagine how bad it feels to be on the other end of that and not be able to get out of
And
that
not
mindset?
know which way to turn.
Yeah. I think you're right with social media and the way that everything is becoming aware that I don't want to say mainstream, but it's becoming okay to express the way you're feeling and allowing people to get treatment. But it's a slippery slope once you get going down it.
Yeah. So let's dig into it.
Right. I think it's always been in the trucking industry.
Yeah. Truckers they're alone.
Yeah.
Long days alone. You could feel isolated from family events, things that go on with your friends. You have the stressors of the job. For me, the number one stressor is the other motoring public. I mean, you have to be aware of where they're at all times.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose somebody out of your mirror sight. And yeah, that's stressful.
Right. You have, thankfully, not much in our world, and ELD laws have changed this, but like irregular sleep schedules. With back in the day, hey, it wasn't out of the ordinary to hear stories of guys turning 2 or 3 Texases a week or things like that.
It was normal.
That was normal, but how did they do it? Bodies aren't designed to do that,
I mean, yeah, you'd also like deliver in the morning, go to your next pickup, load her in the afternoon, and you better be someplace tomorrow morning.
Right. Where do you sleep?
That was, unfortunately, that was normal, right? And as
It
you
doesn't
said,
mean it was wrong. That's what
right, yeah,
That's what the industry was doing at that point. It's like the car seat analogy that I gave you yesterday. It's just, but those drivers, I should say, at that time, didn't know anything else. And if someone said, "Hey, I feel tired, or I feel sad, or I feel this," someone would have looked at them and said, "Find a different job."
Yep.
That's not right.
Yep.
And thankfully, we've made some progressions here in the industry to allow us to get to where we're at. There's still a mountain to climb.
As you said, I think ELDs did help with that.
Right. Yeah.
I was against ELDs, if I'm being honest. And I think there's still people or companies, drivers, whatever, that do run the old way, have, kind of that outlaw mentality that they're going to do what they want to do, and that's okay. Teach their own.
But if you're in a situation and it's making you feel bad, why are you make a choice?
You have to make a choice if
there's
it's not working for
right.
you.
There's companies out there that don't do that. Isolation and loneliness, being by yourself, or being by yourself for months on end. I mean, how many times have we talked to drivers? Hey, I want to be out for 4 or 5 months. Some guys like that.
Yep.
Maybe that works for him.
Yep.
Or the guy that wants to live up at his cabin by himself, away from everyone else. Perfect. Not everyone likes that.
I mean, cell phones are not new, but
Right.
now there's communication with home and friends and stuff. But it used to be you would go to the truck stop and use the payphone.
Yeah, you got a quarter in your
Your
pocket,
best
maybe?
friend was the CB and the radio and the
Right.
radio.
Yeah.
If the radio came in.
Right. I also think another big thing of this is, prior to me being in the industry, it used to be a sought after job. Like, truck drivers had respect. Now they pull into a shipper or receiver and there's signs up, "Truck drivers park here, no truck drivers allowed in this building." That's bullshit. Like, they're human beings. Don't treat them like an animal.
Yeah.
And imagine dealing with that every day.
Yeah. It's
It's
it's horrible. Would you want to be treated that way? And the answer is no.
No.
COVID, really. Let me back up.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
I understand. There's certain few that gave the industry a bad name when it comes to parking and that kind of stuff. Let's be honest, truck drivers at times pee in bottles, and if you're leaving pee bottles everywhere and garbage, yes, that is, it's wrong.
There's people like that in every sector of business in the country. There's bad apples and everything.
That's true, but I would respect a company or a business with a parking lot that says, "Hey, I don't want you guys, if you're not doing business with them, hey, don't park in my parking lot if you're going to make a mess or whatever." I'm using Walmart for an example. The Walmart is another truck stop, if you will. A lot of people park there, but if you're leaving it a mess, I wouldn't blame them for saying no.
Well, I don't know if it's true, but are they still booting all the trucks that park there unless you get pre-approval?
Not around here that I know of. So anyways, now it's progressed to COVID,
Right.
and you're a driver on the road. You can't get. Everybody had this, but some people were at home, right?
Right.
Drivers were driving. Where am I going to get food? Hey,
Places
are they
were
going
shut down?
Are they going to have fuel?
Yeah.
Parking wasn't really that big of an issue at that time.
Motoring public wasn't either. That was actually the best time for drivers in that aspect.
you could
because
sail through towns.
They loved it. I mean, we were getting through Chicago in record time.
Yep. That's true. But add all those stressors, and
Right.
what does that do to you?
Right.
You had to change the whole way you prepped and planned.
And they were still, short of like bill of ladings not being signed anymore for that time period, they were still having to interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the other people were seeing the same people every day.
Debatable,
they were
but
across
putting
the
your
country.
life on the line?
Right. 100% putting their life on the line.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already isolated. Going into that truck stop, that one, hey, how are you doing? Or meeting someone random or whatever that may be, might have been that thing that pulled you out of a slump.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got half the people out on the road or whatever that number is, and now you don't have that. Now you're just out in some desolated concrete jungle per se. It's
So it's a tough industry.
Yeah.
But trucking isn't the only one that mental health in the only industry that mental health is a concern.
I don't even think you can compare it to industries. I think it's just a thing that our generation across the world is dealing with. And I don't think it's not because generations before us didn't deal with it. I think it's because it's now okay in a sense to talk about. I think it's always been here. Do I agree with some of it? Yeah, I do. Do I agree with some? There's parts of it I don't agree with, or I don't understand would be a better way to put it.
Don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, like I said, I haven't had to deal with it. My wife does. It's very hard. Like, try to help, but you can't sometimes. It's just one of those things. I'm a fixer.
And it's very easy for us who are able to get out of that slump to say, well, you should do this or you should do that.
Yeah, and that's the last thing they need to hear at that point.
Yeah, it's different. And while that may work for you, it may not work for me, and it may not work for Taylor.
Or they're doing everything they can to just muster up enough courage to get out of bed that day. It's a weird thing to comprehend. It's getting deep.
But again, it's different for everybody.
Right.
But there are some things that could be recommended to try to help with
100%.
those issues, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into some of those.
I mean, first and foremost, you could find someone to talk to. If it's at that point.
There's been numerous.
I'll go on record. If anyone ever needs to talk, just call.
Yeah, I will as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a very touchy-feely guy, and I'm not great at that, but I can listen.
Yeah.
Right. And I always will. I've had numerous people come in my office and, hey, I just need to talk about this.
5-10 minutes, whatever.
Yep. We had a new driver, who after a couple days on the job kind of spilled his guts to me, and I couldn't help him, but I could listen and try to help him and understand, right? That meant a lot to me. Like, hey, I don't really know this person, but they are willing to share this with me.
Right.
And, that's what he needed at that time.
Right.
And you have to be there for them.
Yeah. And there's no shame in sharing how you feel.
No.
Gone are the days of the macho man being cool. I'm sorry. Like, it's cool to be alive, for the lack of a better term, and cool to be healthy and okay.
Yeah.
So
some of those coping mechanisms,
yeah.
What works for you? Find a hobby.
I have lots of them.
Do you?
I find new hobbies all the time. I'm always on the go. Yeah. I mean, find a hobby. Diet and exercise.
Which is huge, right?
Huge.
Especially truck drivers are sedentary. We were talking before. I've got a Fitbit, and
it's not working very well.
It needs to be replaced. But it's just a personal.
It's what makes
challenge.
Yes.
Right. Yep. I look at my watch. How many steps did I get? And if it's 8 o'clock,
sitting in the middle of a conversation, and you will just stand up and just start pacing. I got to get my steps in, and that's not just 1 or 2 times. That's like every day.
It's weird. I'm sorry, but it's a personal challenge. Like,
right.
And I'm not. It works for me.
Yeah.
So hey, challenge yourself. Right. Take a walk around the truck stop.
There are technologies that will help with that. I mean, your phone will remind you, hey, you need to get up and walk, or your watch, or whatever that may be, or a ring. All of those things.
And eating healthy.
Yeah. Being out on the road, imagine that. Like, that's a stressor. That could technically, I got to worry about this, and now you're worrying about this when you could be worrying about something else,
That's why I always, we try to say, hey, if you could take some food with you that you want to eat,
do it.
It's cheaper, and you know what you want.
But it comes down to taking the first step on that too. Like, you have to understand it. Don't take the easy way out. And I know that's.
You can say it, because
like you have
that's the way you feel. It's okay to talk about your feelings.
But you have to plan, and you have to be able to. Hey, I didn't have time to get to the grocery store. Okay, well, that is a sacrifice that you made, whether that's in your control or out of your control. That now this is the situation that you're going to have to deal with. Right. But if you can, this is what, if that's weighing on you, do this. This would help that.
Yeah.
So,
eating at McDonald's every day is probably not the healthiest thing.
You know what, the guy in Fond du Lac?
Yeah.
Big Mac a day.
Yep.
You just eat it for every meal. You just cut it back to 1 a day now.
So,
identifying what set you off is the wrong term.
Your triggers.
Identifying your triggers. Hey, if you know that if I don't get enough sleep, I start to feel this way, do whatever you can to stay on the same sleep schedule. If you know that if I don't get some exercise in the morning, I get anxious or whatever, exercise. Whatever those are, you got to be in tune to your body and know, hey, take a deep, self-look at yourself and say, hey, this is what happens when I don't do this or when I do this, and make adjustments there. Yep. But I don't think any of these are the end-all, be-all. They may be for some, but there are those people that do need to result in a more, I guess, in-depth approach in a sense of going to the doctor. You had a great analogy yesterday, or was it yesterday or today when we were talking about this, where there are some people, if you break your leg, you can't fix it yourself. You got to go to the doctor, and you're going to require more care after that. Let's move on. After it's out of the cast, what do? You go on.
You had to get it fixed first,
You had to get it fixed. Then you got to cast it. Then you recovered while it was casted. Then what did you do after the cast was off?
The rehab.
The rehab. So if you take that approach on everything, hey, you know what? Maybe there is medication that will help me. Then your follow-up, your rehab per se, could be your therapist or a friend or one of these other things. Maybe that's all you need, just that little extra bump to get you out of there.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's not the same for everyone.
Right.
That's why it's
why it's difficult.
Right.
But if you break it down like that, mental health is a disease and illness just like anything else.
Right.
Right. If you get diabetes, you can't fix that on your own.
there's things
you
that
can
you
regulate.
can do.
Well, yeah, maybe you can regulate it with your
Right.
diet, but you might need insulin. You know,
You need to know that. You need to be tested. You need to be aware of the things, educate, and do all those. You know, to take the right measures to get there.
couple other coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Stay busy. We talked about hobbies,
Yeah.
right? Now, being too busy could not help as well, but
Right.
you have to know your limitations.
Right.
How about good personal hygiene?
Yeah.
Take a shower,
Brush your teeth.
look good, feel good kind of thing.
There's multiple studies. I will say this. They have done studies that if you have a morning routine, you are exponentially more likely.
Productive.
Not just productive, but like overall happier.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to add to this, like have a schedule, like stick to a routine. Like if you do the same thing every morning, I was horrible about like that kind of stuff, and now I just really make an effort to I have a little checklist. I got to do these things in the morning, and then I know the rest of the day I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
But I am someone who needs the littlest of checklists because I'm thinking about 1,000 different things at one
You
time.
don't say.
And you guys know, you've worked with me long enough. There's a lot of this stuff that I've had to apply to my life because it's all right, that's what I need. But a big part of this is realizing you also need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Being comfortable with saying hey man, my buddies might not need a morning routine checklist to get through their day, but shit, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
But
that's okay.
But if I do it, I'm way better at everything else throughout the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm happy.
That's just just those little things add up. All of the things you guys put up here, they will add up, and if you stick to them, you will be a happier person. But it takes effort too. It's not just gonna come.
Yeah.
It
No.
takes an effort. It's gonna take a conscious
And
effort.
all of these little things adding up may not fix it. There's still other variables to that but they're not going to hurt it.
They're gonna make it much better.
Yeah.
It's gonna make it much better.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, we were doing some research yesterday. There are online therapists.
Yeah. You don't have to talk to anybody.
Well, you could. I mean,
You-
you could
you
do it
can.
anywhere.
You
You don't
could,
have to
yeah.
do it in person.
Yeah.
You can. What is it, Calm and Headspace? I think.
BetterHelp.com.
BetterHelp.com.
You can talk to someone that day. I haven't used it, but I know people that have it.
Is it free?
It's not free, but it is a fraction of what you'll pay going to an office.
It's just like a teledoc or something like that, probably, right?
It's more like what it costs to go to a chiropractor. That's kind of how that more operates.
Okay.
Much more affordable. I went to the chiropractor yesterday. It was $40. I'll pay to get cracked every couple weeks. To me, that's well worth an hour online therapy session if you really need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have that outlet and your circle, right? You're going to be more comfortable talking. It might be more comfortable talking to somebody who's going through the same thing.
Yeah, and that person may be someone that went through it and has now
And
beat it.
I think that's a key point, right?
Right.
And if you're having this feeling, somebody else is as well.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
Employers are offering EAP.
Employee assistance programs.
Yeah, I mean, reach out. Like I said before, call. It's okay to let those feelings marinate, but you gotta act on them too. It's okay to be feeling the way you are. You're not the only one.
Right.
But it's not okay for you to be feeling that way forever.
Yep.
Unless that's your prerogative, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I hope
And
we
it's
didn't
and it's
offend
not
anyone.
okay not to help somebody.
Yeah, always be
You
there.
know what I mean?
I mean, my phone is always on. I mean, short of a couple choice times, I'm not
You'd like to be sleeping at 2 a.m.
right.
Yeah.
But if someone called me at 2 a.m., I'd
You'll
be
an-
there in a heartbeat.
you'll answer.
Yep.
I think they know, and I hope they know anybody that, really anybody who's listening to this podcast,
Anyone.
give us a call at any time.
Yeah.
If you need to talk, it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd ever get to a point where we'd be talking about something like this on the podcast. So kudos to you there. But if you just sit back and think about it, it sucks that people are feeling that way. It really does.
Yeah. So
I think it's awesome that you guys are even just acknowledging it.
Right.
The fact that it is a conversation, because I tell you, there aren't many industries like this that are talking about it. So
Right.
I think it's a big step.
Awesome. Anything else to add?
Not really. We need to end on a good note, though. Not that that wasn't good, but
An uplifting note.
yeah, the sun is shining.
It's warm.
It's warm.
Feels like spring. It's not even mid-March.
That's not to get back into this, but seasonal
We're coming out
depression.
of- yeah.
We're coming out of seasonal depression.
If that exists anywhere, it's in areas like
Yep.
Wisconsin,
Yep.
Minnesota, those
Right.
states where we literally we don't quite have Alaskan 24 what is it, 30 days of darkness they have or something like that. But it absolutely exists. You can
Oh,
see
yeah.
it. You can
It
you can
happens
see
to
it
me.
and feel it. Yeah, 100%. And then all of a sudden that snow melts. We could get 12 inches next week.
What was it, like 5 or 6 years ago? When we got
End of April.
Yeah, like 30
It was the
inches
record.
overnight.
When
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
pounded,
Yeah.
It was horrible.
But good point to bring back up.
right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
and realize that it's normal.
yeah.
You said you were normal. That's debatable.
No,
But,
I don't think I said I
but-
was normal. I think I
See-
said it is normal to feel that way.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I did say I was normal. I feel like I'm pretty close to normal.
And
ask me.
hey, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, if you ask me, I'm normal.
Yeah, but hopefully we shed
it's-
some light. Just shed some
Yeah.
light on it. Nobody talks about it.
Here's something that we should say. If anyone out there is listening and does have other resources that they are aware of, share them below.
There you
let's
go.
let's promote the hell out of this. Let's make it a known fact that it's okay. You don't have to.
Or what do you do that we
Yeah.
didn't talk about?
Yeah.
Do you have a secret recipe that
Right.
you start feeling this way and you've got a regimen that you think would help? Leave it below and then we'll talk about it next week.
For sure.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. What the happy note was the weather though? It wasn't that happy.
I don't know. I felt different once we had that warm sunny
Oh,
day.
yeah. Walking out
I
of
just
work
wanted
and
to
it's
go
not
out and,
dark out.
crush the
That's
world.
nice.
Yeah. Then we had the hour change on Sunday. Everybody bitches, but it's light at 6:30, 7 o'clock. How does that not make you happy?
You mean at night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the
I could
darkness
tell
in
you
the
why it
morning.
doesn't make me happy because now my kids are like, "Hey, it's still light out." I don't want to start prepping for bed,
Mine's not old enough to know if it's
Yeah.
light or dark.
but yeah,
Well, did we miss anything?
I'm rescanning.
No. All right.
Awesome.
Cool. Take care of your
Yeah,
health.
take care of yourself.
Your mental health. Don't be sedentary.
Yep.
Get up and move. Eat healthy. Take care of yourself. And
Find a hobby. Talk to someone.
Do something. Take a step in
you're
the
able.
right direction.
yep.
Yep.
And don't be afraid to acknowledge if something's off.
And
If
don't
you
be
don't feel
afraid
right.
to try something if something else doesn't work.
That's right.
Yeah, don't just stop at the first roadblock you hit.
Mm-hmm.
Your well-being and your life really depend on it. Right? As sad as that sounds.
Yep.
Yeah. Reach out. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.
All right.